Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hi, welcome to Business Line's State of Economy podcast. This is Subramani Ramankombu with you. Copper is a commodity whose price movements are an indicator of the economy. Copper finds its uses in various parts of life, starting from electrical appliances to construction to vehicles and wires. What are the prospects for copper this year? How will the demand supply scenario play out? To tell us more about these, we have Mr. Mayur Karmakar, MD, International Copper Association India, with us. Welcome, sir, to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast.
How do you see the demand for copper this year?
Yeah, particularly when you see the demand for copper, as per the study we have published for the financial year 2022, the total demand for copper, because we mapped the end-use demand, the end-use demand was little over 1.2 million ton, which was in terms of compared to the previous year, that is FY 2021, which was around 978,000 tons. So the market has seen the quick recovery, particularly from the pandemic time. And if you see the overall growth rate of the copper demand, say from the financial year 2016, the demand growth rate is almost 5% per annum. Now, within that demand growth, the demand for the CC rods, which is like the primary, I would say the copper semis, is the 8% per annum. So what indirectly it means that the copper usage in the electrical has grown up, overpaced the overall copper demand. So generally the CC rods is used in wire and cable, winding wire, etc. So the electrical demand is increase at the average rate of 8% per annum. So within the different, the copper semis, you can see that the demand has increase. It's a positive demand story for the country. But when you look at the supply part of it, and I want to bring in the supply scenario, largely with respect to how the industry, manufacturing industry, largely the smelting refining capacity, which was under the dispute for last 5 years. I think the 5th year celebration is happening this year. You see, before 5 years, the imports of copper products was almost like 130,000 tons. This all kinds of copper product import, right from cathode up to the the value add product. Now that import has increased to 561,000 tons, which is the huge jump in terms of imports. So and also there is a growth in the the scrap. I mean, all of a sudden the scrap availability has increased, the import has increased. And if you see in the financial year 18, which was the last year of the closure of Sterlite plant, the scrap was total representing in a total supply equation 25%, but it has gone up to 36%. So in terms of the demand growth, overall the electrical product, or basically the copper usage in electrical application has outpaced the overall copper demand. But the imports has increased and so has the local scrap has increased. Now, particularly for financial year 2023, we have not completed the demand assessment total, but the initial indicator shows that the even for the financial year 2023, the demand has grown more than 9% per annum. So in terms of the if you really see the demand drivers, which are largely with respect to the different end-use market, we see the change in the that growth rate, particularly on the various demand drivers of copper. And largely, if you see the share for the building construction, where we use the largely the building wire and the cable, that is still larger, the end-use market there. Which is around 500,000 ton plus, which is a very big number. And after that, we see the larger thing is largely the infrastructure related growth, which is the power generation in renewable. That total aggregated demand also is like over 400,000 tons. So these are the two sectors we see growing faster.
Sir, what are the upside and the downside risks to demand for copper?
The upside is all about creating more valuation opportunity for the country. So upside is maintaining the theme of Make in India and creating more fabrication capacity in India, particularly reduce the imports of copper product through more value addition. That is the upstream, because if you see overall fabrication industry, we got enough capacity with respect to the rod making. But when it comes to product like tubes, or if you say the product like some of the electronic foil or the thin foil, which is a high value add product, where the value add opportunity is very high. So there we see we have an opportunity to increase our production base. The downside of the demand growth is how quickly we are, creating the local industry and, take the advantage. Otherwise, if you see with looking at the India growth, the more fabrication capacity coming in the other countries, which is actually a disadvantage to us, because people are strongly believing that India will not come with the manufacturing, or the current investment pattern overall in the copper industry says that India will continue to be the import-based economy for the copper products. That is their assumption. But unless we show our, the opportunity getting converted into reality, we will not, we will keep on importing these copper products.
How do you envisage the copper scenario in India this year?
If you see copper scenario India, because now everybody is looking at 2030. Now 2030, if you keep that as a milestone overall, even if you project the growth rate, average copper growth rate, I mean, we have worked out on three different scenarios. The one scenario is that the current policy reforms and the enthusiasm, overall enthusiasm out in the market continues to be there. So that will create the CAGR opportunity of around 9% plus. If we really capture the existing trend and get on the realistic scenarios of having the renewable installation done or the grid investment done, we see that growth rate going somewhere 8%. And if we really work on the pessimistic scenario, where largely traditional, what we have been saying, like the Hindu growth of approach, we still, even in that scenario, we see the growth rate happening more than 6%. And that will be still driven by the electrical application. So this is the scenario which was worked together with Ernst & Young. If we see that scenario for that demand, definitely, if you see the current smelting refining capacity of over 500,000 ton, you will have to have more investments in the smelting refining. We will have to have more investments in rod making, which current rod maker has understood, and there are the plan. But what is not really has explored is, like, if you see the current change in the transportation sector, wherein people are largely promoting electrical vehicle. And in electric vehicle, government is sensitive about the critical mineral overall required for manufacturing of battery, etc. But the simple component like the copper foils required there in battery, because in the batteries, on an average, for every kilowatt hour of battery, you will at least need 1 to 1.2 kilos of copper. Now, we will miss the fabrication opportunity of those copper foils, which will create more value add in the country, which will create an opportunity to export this product overseas, largely the market like Europe and US. So if this demand of from ranging between 6% to 9%, is the scenario within that transportation sector is going to be crucial. And transportation sector, we expect the overall copper demand in transportation sector these days, which is over 150,000 ton, which is getting over 400,000 ton plus. So the additional 250, 300,000 ton copper demand, which is likely to come from the transportation sector for the high value add product like foils used there in the lithium ion battery, or to some extent the motors manufactured overseas for these, the EV motors. All that opportunity we will lose if we really don't gear up the focus, the priority of manufacturing and fabrication of copper products in India.
Sir, of late we find a sort of trend where people have started using copper utensils like copper bottom, cookers, copper vessels, and other things. How far can these push up copper demands?
Particularly on the cookwares, I can tell you one major driver for the cookware. As more electric induction cooking is coming in, you will require that conducting flat, I would say, bottom cookwares. So I have seen currently copper is also used there that in cookware. So in terms of overall demand, I really don't know exactly because this sector is so unorganized. Estimating exact demand for such cookware from the demand side, we have not done, but we have the rough number on the overall application for this copper, which is not more than 7,000-8,000 tons overall. Now that market going forward will grow, but overall in a demand scenario that may not be very significant. For example, you just have to see the scale here. For example, if you construct a new home of say 1,000 square feet with an average density of around 35 grams per square feet, you require the wiring there. So that 35 grams per square feet over 1,000 is 35,000 grams, which is like 35 kilos we are referring per home. And if you see the in the same home, the cookware, we will have 2 or 3 or 4 cookware all put together may not be even more than a kilo. So the scales are different here. And if you really see, categorize the demand from the ABC prioritization, I think that A and B priority will be largely for the electrical and the infrastructure, transportation, etc. But the miscellaneous application like cookware, they will be there, they will grow, but in terms of overall demand scenario, they may not be very sizable.
Sir, during 22, 23 also, we have had higher imports of copper, like it has just 2.75 lakh tons for 23-24 as per the latest report that we have. And it's for the fifth consecutive year that copper imports have gone up. So how do you see that Indian production meeting the rising demand?
As I mentioned earlier, that once the fabrication capacities right from cathode up to the end product, which is like the small lugs and the ferrules or the electronic wires or electronic foils. Like today, the world with the 5G is moving for the different foils, which is called as high frequency foil. So then the electric vehicle battery foil, the thickness which was there of like 30 micron plus, that is going to the level of 6 micron. So these type of the advancement is happening elsewhere in the world. But if we don't harness all these opportunities, particularly overall on the import scenario, our value add import will continue to be higher. And then, of course, the major semis such as the aircon tubes or aircon tubes, currently we are import dependent, largely, particularly all inaugural tubes are imported. Now, if we don't, although in PLI scheme, there has been expression of interest from 2 companies, but if those production capacities don't come up quickly and they get the product made at par in quality with the imported product, the imports will continue to grow.
It has been a great revelation from you as far as the details are concerned. Very enlightening and very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.